And so that stuff needs to go to them. What costs can be recovered? Any recovery for any personnel who did anything. If you brought units in and they just sat in level 2 staging, you can't get recovery for them. But if you sent them to cordon off an area, to send out, to be exclusionary, if you had them do defensive measures, evacuation, those kind of things, they can't. Anything that was broken, any equipment that was broken, if we decided, hey, it's not worth trying to decon this level A suit, we're leaving it on the scene, we can recover that. And again, you have 14 days to submit that paperwork. Okay. That's a lot. It felt like a lot for me. Any questions? Anything? I think I'm looking at the chat here. Any questions from outside?
So, are you recommending that the DOE, even on, say, it's a chemical plant, that they have a spill in their storage? Those guys should have a cleanup plan.
Mm-hmm.
And are you saying that we should still turn that over to the Department of Energy, Department of Ecology, so that they follow up on that?
So the question was, is what if a chemical plant has a simple, or has a loss or a release, and they have a plan to clean it up on site? Does that need to be left over to the Department of Ecology? I guess to some degree, if it's a small enough thing and they're able to, it's within their plan to clean up, why are we there? So I guess it would have to equate to how big of an issue it is. I know, and we'll cover an incident here, that my experience with the Department of Ecology is they're very hands-off and they aren't really interested. So to whatever level I think you can release it to, it's probably a more cleaner thing for you, but yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, Rich, but.
Because it all depends, I guess would be my answer. We had the guy that spilled all the crap on him at the day's end, and we needed the Department of Health so that they wouldn't just rent the room out.
Right.
They'd actually clean it. But then I've also been to places up off of Hardison where there's a carboy leaking, and somebody called in that there's chemical on the ground and it's a weekend, and it's like, I just need somebody from here that can tell me what that is and can take care of it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, so I think it's kind of situational dependent, right? It depends on the thing. If it's just a little bit of something on the ground, what liability are you really worried about? That's where it's like, oh yeah, we got a plan, we put kitty litter, we bag it up. Okay, it sounds like you know what you're doing. And it's but that's different from I've got a rail car derailed and a bunch of, whatever that is, 50,000 gallons of something on the ground, and it's like, oh yeah, we do this all the time. Well, ooh, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. So it's going to be kind of situational dependent. So, all right, well, I want to thank you three for showing up, because we're going to have a little scenario here, and now I got somebody to talk to, because the chat rooms are not blowing up here. So you're going to be dispatched to some foam on the intersection of a street somewhere in your neighborhood. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. You can kind of see there's some clouds in the sky. It's a wintry, blustery day. Rain's in the forecast, and all you know is, and you can see some people have driven through the foam, and you haven't gotten reports of people dying or cars burning up. So that can maybe help guide you a little bit in what you're seeing. As you kind of start to walk around, you also find this. The picture to the far left here is a drain tunnel that is for rainwater runoff from I-5, and it's full of foam. And the picture there in the middle there then is kind of where that drain dumps down into before it goes into some retention ponds by the river. And there's all sorts of white foam down there. And then off to the side on the ground, there's a bunch of white foam. Who knows how that got there? So, any thoughts? What are we going to do? A lot of help here.
Find out what happened on the freeway.
Find out what that, so obviously this, I mean, you know, our indications are gonna be that something happened on the freeway, right? But initially, what do we need to do? We need to kind of we need to lock down the area, right? Put some caution tape out, don't have people keep driving through this stuff, we don't know what it is.
Get that HazMat rig there.
Get the HazMat rig coming, quick, leave it to them, that's right. So, we're gonna go ahead and, lock down the area, right? Secure it. Pete, you're exactly right. Try and find out what's happening. I mean, because everything seems to indicate that what we've got is some kind of a chemical that's mixing with runoff from I-5. So I think it's an obvious thing of where's I-5. As we start to kind of anticipate, I mean, we don't seem to, with a foam, right? I mean, I know a lot of people might sit there and say, oh, it's got to be Dawn dish soap. Okay, so did a tanker of Dawn dish soap blow up on I-5, and that's what we're looking at? I don't know. Let's just say that this looks like a lot of foam, and you're kind of wondering what happened. So you can contact, as far as SNOCOM knows, there's no incidents going on the freeway. Let's say you decide after we've locked down the area, right? We take care of our start the HazMat rig, lock down the area, take command. Do we need to consider evacuations?
Not at this point.
Probably not. I mean, let's say, I'll tell you that the foam on the street is pretty much what the foam on the street is. It doesn't seem to be expanding. We don't have an ongoing release. It doesn't seem like there's anything we need to curtail. Right now it isn't raining, so it isn't spreading anything anywhere. It's just sitting there on the road.
We can anticipate which storm drains might collect it and dam those.
Yeah, we could dam, dike, divert, anticipating water, or we could be ready to dam, dike, divert in anticipation of that. That's a good idea. I'm not the best chemist in the world, but I mean, I can tell you that, I mean, there are foams that I've researched that are toxic, but I'm not sure that we have to worry about a rapidly evolving issue here necessarily.
That was more of the movie The Blob, I think.
More of the movie The Blob, okay.
But wouldn't we want to do some recon? And
where would we recon?
the foam.
So I would say that on this particular day, I made sure we sent an engine down I-5, and I mean, thinking that this is runoff, I mean, we can pretty much do between Everett Mall Way and 41st, and hey, do we have do we have a semi truck, you know, stuck on the side of the road leaking something from it, right? Because that'd be the thing. This is what was called in, this is what we see, but maybe our incident is really somewhere else.
Yeah, I was speaking more to having HazMat techs obtain a sample.
Yes, sampling. So I can tell you from my experience, you are going to be hard pressed to take a sample of foam and do anything with it. I don't know. I'm more than happy for any of the more experienced techs to chime in on this. But if you want to try and shove it in a little vial and put it in the Gemini and see if the Gemini is going to tell you what it is, nah, it ain't going to happen. You can try and HazCat it. I mean, you can try and get a pH on it. You can try and play with that. But again, it's not really going to tell you much.
In terms of like neutral or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay, what is it? I mean, it's.
So, so that's great. So we've all that. Let's start talking about notifications. What kind of notifications do we need to make?
Ecology.
Department of Ecology, because we got to get our EMD number, right?
Well, also because you're dealing with runoffs into navigable water.
Ooh, is it runoff into the navigable water?
Well, I get to add to the scenario, so mine it is.
That foam's not really evolving, and all that chemical is going to go into the retention pond, which I mean could leach into the navigable water. That's true. But I mean, as far as an evolving incident, we probably don't have much going on there. This is where calling the on-duty emergency management, I'm not sure what we call it, officer, I believe, is very helpful because they have all the numbers on a Saturday. I didn't add, this is a Saturday morning. All the numbers for a Saturday morning of how to get a hold of streets and some of these people to come out.
So that number's on the training calendar?
Who the duty officer is on the training calendar. Yeah. There is a number for the duty officer's phone.
Oh, okay.
So that would be the number 2 call.
The other thing you were talking about notifications is who's dealing with these storm drains. It could be public works if it's in the city limits. If it's on I-5, it might be washed off too.
Exactly, right? So as you go through this process, and so I'm sorry if you guys can't hear out in computer land this, but Pete was just saying it's important to know who to contact. Maybe it's Department of Transportation, maybe it's city, which storm drain is it? So we contacted the city of Everett and advised DOT, because I'm pretty sure I know that runoff comes from the freeway, so I'm assuming it's DOT, so we ended up getting a representative from DOT out, we got a representative from Everett Streets out, we were able to pinpoint the manhole covers, yes, confirmed this is definitely from the freeway. So we know that it's some kind of runoff from the freeway. Now it had been brought up early on in this thing well, was there a fire? This looks like, could this be car foam? In my estimation, on my experience, I said, that's a lot of car foam for how sudsy that is. The one thing I was unaware of though, once we got the Department of Transportation guy out there, is that it's not just a pipe that runs down from I-5 to there. It goes from I-5 to there through multiple vaults. And in that vault process, it churns and churns and agitates and agitates and agitates. And it's like, hooking your 1 3/4 line up to a high expansion foam fan. And so, in the end of this evolution, we were able to figure out that there had been a car fire at 2:30 in the morning. They'd used about 400 gallons of Novacool. And this was the end product of all that. So, in your notifications, talk to the Department of Ecology. They were not interested in, and I'm not sure how much it needs to be cleaned up, but they said they would just leave it up to whatever the city sewer wanted to do. City facility and sewer came out and said, let's just open up this manhole for the sewer, get some squeegees, and we'll squeegee this foam on the street into the sewer because the sewer can handle it. So, we had a post-incident debriefing, which was basically, we assumed this was Novacool, should not be much of a threat, no one was really exposed to it. We went ahead and left it with city streets after we helped them squeegee the stuff in there, but there wasn't really much left there. Took down our caution tape and went about our merry way. Filing all our important paperwork at home, but there was really no cost recovery because we can't really sue ourselves, or maybe we can, I don't know.
Sovereign immunity.
Sovereign immunity, the lawyer says. All right. With that being said, are there any questions? Anything? I see nothing in the chat. Everybody's probably already bailed, which is fine with me. Val, I think, is going to try and get a record of who attended. And for those who were not able to attend, we have a cell phone recording that we will push out for you guys to disperse out to your teams. Any other questions? Final chance? All right, hearing none, motion to adjourn. Motion seconded. Okay, you guys have a great day.
Thanks, Tim.
You want me to stop it?
Is that the bulk of that? Is that what we put together for your captain's project?
Yeah, sure.